Hey, Jan. Hopefully this will work. Yay! So if you hear feedback, yell at me. Yay! So I know that you got your ebrush. Did you take it out of the box yet? Because that's the best part. Take it out of the box and play with it.
You do?
It is. I hear you go, So were you successfully getting it to work?
Well,
Yes. Hopefully you were. I know you're doing your craft class. So whenever you get your ebrush, the first thing that you want to do, now mine doesn't have the battery pack in it, but I could put it in there. I just don't leave it in there. But the battery pack goes here if you want to charge your battery. I always moisten the tube and then stick it on here, then moisten the tube and stick it on the end of the ebrush, and then you're ready to go. To put the collars on, it's really easy. You just match it up with the little triangle there, push in and turn, and there you go. By the way, after this, you'll never guess, my friend's family's all going, so I'm going to go do a craft class with her. Yay! So it is as easy as finding a marker that fits it. Oh, I wish those would fit it. But at any rate, we go over to our handy marker container box, pull out one of our markers. Now this is one that I've been testing every day since I started with my ebrush to find out if it would stay, how long it would stay. How long will you stay? And I have this wonderful coffee filter that I'm playing with. So in order for me to judge mine, spray, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to show you just in a minute, because somebody was asking me about the unit shaking. What you can do, this stuff is shelf liner. And it is tremendous. You put it underneath your machine like this, and it doesn't go anywhere. Or at least mine hasn't. And I was working on, I'm going to do some work with this coffee liner. I'm going to cut it out. So I just wanted to put some different colors on it and shapes and things. What I love to show too is that if you're going to use something, I think this one's funny. You can actually do on the edge of something, and you get two. Look at that. You get a clean edge on your piece, but you also get a strange edge on your coffee filter. I don't know what I'm going to make out of this. I thought about fanning it and doing some other stuff with it, making maybe flowers. Who knows? But it's so nice to be able to color and custom do the things you enjoy doing. And what's really neat too is this is a coffee filter, and it's very porous. But you'll notice that my ink hasn't actually bled through. It's all on one side. And so that just shows you that you're not really using that much ink when you're blowing with air. If I stayed here and just did this and saturated it, you see that it's bleeding through a little bit, not much. Very cool. I love playing with it. By the way, I've also heard of people using their hands for masks. I think that's crazy, but that's what they do. They'll actually take their marker. I was going to put the cap back on it. You know things are rough when you start to put the cap back on stuff. All right, here we go. Yay! Woo, woo, woo! So what they'll do is instead of taking a pre-cut form, like I love these things. I have to show you. I take quilting template plastic and I cut my own shapes out. But people will take their hands and they'll use them for a mask so that they can do the different shapes of their hands. I went through a whole show with blue hands, and I think that really and truly it's easier and you get a nicer line with this. You know, these are stencils, and you can actually do some really in-depth stencils with the ebrush. And I use a product that's called Frisket. Let me show you that. It's a removable plastic that you use on paper. They actually make them for automobiles as well. But this is a Frisket. And what you would do is draw your picture out on it, and then take a razor knife. I imagine if you have a cutting machine, you could do it too, but set it for really, really light vinyl so it doesn't cut all the way through. Because this is really, really thin, but it's adhesive. If I can ever get the tape off. Now this, if I've really got to be really, really tight with something, I use this. I like to just hand draw and let it bleed over. It depends on the picture, but when I do fruits and vegetables and things like that, it doesn't really matter if I bleed over a little bit on certain edges. But with this, you can really do tight stuff, and it's reapplicable. Okay, so it's not working that way. So you can actually save your pieces. She says, can she get it roughly through? The only thing bad about this stuff, I tried contact paper, and contact paper has got a little bit more stick to it than this does. I imagine you can stick it to your clothes and use it, but it is a little bit thicker. This stuff is super, super thin. And what you do is you draw your designs with it, and you can do like eyes and put the tiny parts, and then you can pick them up, and then put them on the side and reposition them back on your project. Once you open it, what's up there? But this is a terrific thing to use with your brush. It's true. My fingers aren't working tonight. What I actually do is draw my whole piece out on it first in marker. Then I take a razor knife and I cut it all out. But this is, the only time I use this is if I'm doing a portrait. I have to be really, really tight. But you get the idea. This is, again, frisket, and this is really, really fun with an airbrush. Even your marker airbrushes. Yay! And by the way, this is Iwata's airbrush frisket. You can also, for tools with your ebrush, you can use Walmart gift cards. I just decided that I would start cutting shapes out of Walmart gift cards. So, you know, if you've got a bunch of those laying around, or you have credit cards or whatever, you can actually just cut those up and use those for your wonderful pieces. I'm going to take out some scissors. I see all of those rotary cutters. But again, this can give you some really neat looking shapes as well. And it really does help. When you first get started, you push that thing in there and you think, oh, it doesn't work. You've got to make sure that your airflow is not blowing by your nib. So pull back on it a little bit, aim the air towards the paper, push in, and you'll see when it hits, there you go. See? Everybody thinks that you push it straight in and it should work, but you have to kind of play with it a little bit. And look at that. You know, one of the tips I will give you, too, for learning your airbrush is to learn how to control it by making lines. And unlike the traditional airbrush, when you hold down on the trigger, regular airbrushes are dual action. When you hold down on the trigger, you have the air going, it doesn't send the medium out until you pull back. With this, anytime the air is going, it's going to do that. So the closer in you are, the darker it is, and then you can pull out. So this doesn't really do a good dagger stroke on these because they're kind of diffused. But learn how to make lines with it first. Then you want to go back and you want to go, oh, yes indeed. You want to just do quick dots, 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 fast, 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 fast. Straight up and down, dot, dot, dot. I'm using them a little bit better. I'm at an angle to my drawing desk, but this will teach you control. I know it looks silly, but it really will give you control, and that's the whole idea, is to learn how to control your brush. You know, for me, like I said, I enjoy doing freehand stuff, but just remember, it's all about control. So control your brush. You'll notice that I've got some overspray here. If I didn't want the overspray, then I would use a mask to keep it from overspraying. But if you go into the side, it's going to overspray on the other side, but at least you won't have much overspray on the side you're using it for. And see, there's a plum. And it's just back and forth. Remember, too, that you want to, if you're going to do a face or something, make your arcs. All these are great exercises for getting you to control your brush. I don't know if you quilt, but do some meandering stitches. You'll notice that my wrist is stiff. I'm moving from my shoulder, but this is a really good technique for getting control. It's just meandering. Meander, meander. Yay! That's butterflies. All these things are really wonderful. It's just putting down your little frisket, your little mask. What amazed me is how much color goes down when you're doing it. So I always think, oh, that's not enough color, but it really does give you a lot of color. This is a piece that I cut out on my embosser. I had already embellished it. I used an embossing folder and did the relief you see. Then I took a silver stamp pad and did that to bring out the beautiful colors. But what's really neat is I used this afterwards to do my work on my card with. So I was able to do this kind of strange-looking 4th of July card. But what I did was I stamped on my 4th, and I used StazOn so it wouldn't, melt. And then I went back, and it's on pearl paper, so it's very transparent, and I did my stars underneath. And then I did just some fireworks, which was just letting the marker kind of out. And so it's a lot of fun. And, your ebrush can be used to do things in the background on your scrapbook pages, but you can also use it to do other things. We did a lot of leopard print at CHA. And leopard print is pretty easy. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it is. Oh, see, I put the marker in the place where the brush usually goes. Stupid! Next week we're going to start on some projects, by the way. I'll post a project, and then hopefully everybody will follow along with me. Oh, lace is really cool. What's really nice is if you're going to shoot through fabric or something, is that you get basting spray or repositional adhesive spray, put it on the back side and put it down, and then it holds it so that it doesn't blur the lines, and it really does make for a nice piece. I was going to show you something else and I can't think. My brain ain't working. Oh. If you have, now these are some things, I'm very fortunate. I have a husband that's really good at doing stuff, although I could do it too. But I needed circles when I was taking a class, and so he went ahead and cut all these circles out of acrylic film. But they're really, really nice to use too. And so what you can do is mask off the other one so that you don't have that overspray, and that helps. But, these are something that you can use if you have anything like this. Any kind of drafting shapes can be used. I was going to show you something else. My brain has been just fried. It's the heat. I don't know about y'all, but it's like 92 degrees here, and it's terribly hot. I think I was going to show you another thing. Oh, if you do happen to get a collar that is loose, like I know my Sharpie collar was a little loose, but what I did was, I'll never be able to find it right now. Oh, Deb, you just put it down. Y'all ever do that kind of stuff? You just put it down and it kind of leaves you? Okay, that's not it. Well, what I did on my Sharpie collar that was a little loose, oh, here we go, is I took a little of that washi tape, and then I just put a piece in there, and it was now tight again. So that's something to think about, too, if you're having issues with yours. The Sharpie works with the Sharpie fine points only. And there are some clones out there that will work with, but this is a silver Sharpie. And it'll actually spray with it too. And what I like to do is I like it to do, I know a lot of people don't like that, but I love when it splatters that little silver all over. But again, to get it to the right spot, you just have to push it in until it has that nice spray. The silver doesn't like that. Silver's more like paint. There we go. And you can see. And it dries out a little bit faster than the other ones did, so then I have to put it back on real quick. But again, these are really, really cool. Sharpies, where are you? Someone had asked me if it worked with a stain Sharpie, and it really doesn't. The stain Sharpie, you can put it in. If you put tape on it or you hold it with your hand, you can actually find the sweet spot, but you have to hold it by hand and do it. Any of these markers can be used on fabric. I love these stuff, shoes and stuff like that. I love playing with them. I am like a marker person. I have bunches of markers. I can't help it. I love them. And it's really hard, like when you go to Sam's, they enable you. They have all these markers. And they're really, really cool because they're all different colors. And it's got my favorite teal and pinks and greens and blues. And I mean, it's just like simple. You throw it in there, turn it on, and go to town. Now the Sharpies, sometimes you have to kind of play with them a little bit so they don't splatter as much. But they're cool. And again, remember, with this one, do your homework, do some lines, then go. Do your dots. Oh, I love the dots. That's what we were going to do. We were going to do leopard skin. Leopard skin's like dots. And it's kind of and so you kind of get the gist of it. You go and you kind of handle it like that. And I shouldn't have just done it blue, but that's the whole idea of it. You just kind of work with it. But it's about just getting your hand to work with your brain. And again, just practice. That's basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just showing you, don't be afraid to color over. Just do your practice runs. Do your tight lines. See how tight my line is? Don't worry about going over. If you can't find it, then go get another one. But the idea is that you want to be able to do this because that's going to give you control. Especially if you want to do more than just scrapbooking with it. If you want to learn how to maybe do some portrait work with it or some still life work or animal work, you can do it, but it's strictly learning how to control that brush. And it is a little bit different than an airbrush because a traditional airbrush, you're going to have a little bit finer line. But remember, it's all in the way that you do it. Look how fine my line is. I mean, it's really nice, not much overspray. Tight in. Don't be afraid to wiggle it. Wiggle. It's just like quilting. We're doing our meandering stitch. Then make some circles. Remember, don't give up your dots. Do your dots. A Sharpie is really good because you can get very, very small dots. Practice. Oh, show the corn? Okay. Show the corn and the eggplant. If I had not, and I'm going to tell you, I do practice every day. That's vital for me. I have to. because it had been such a long time that I had kind of goofed around and not done my artwork. And I'm one of those people that has 2 degrees in art and kind of just decided one day, what the heck? But I know Jan thinks these look more like dinner rolls. But it's a close-up of a corn cob. And it's just about ready to be picked and eaten. And I have more work to do on it, but it was something that I just wanted to show a little bit. Oh, I'm freezing up. It's hot as the heck. I can't be freezing up. But it is. These are, it's all in what you see. If you're like Jan and you see the dinner rolls, that's okay too. But you'll notice that I used basically the same colors and just went over and over to build my layers up. And then went some darks to kind of push it out. Then you'll see that I have this lovely eggplant. And it's purples and reds, and they're just layered over each other, and then a little green. Some stencil work. This is one of Teresa Collins' stencils and that. So I did overbleed it a little bit. I didn't. What I should have done is put some of that spray adhesive on it. So, but you can do this too. Just because I'm doing it and you're thinking, oh, it's easy to do, and we're going to do some stuff like that. Because I want you to get to learn how to use the paper as your white, and then you layer over until you get all this beautiful color work going on here. And if you could really see it, I know it sounds funny. Oh no, you lost my sound. But I really, really do enjoy the color work to it. So, next week, a simple project. If you can't hear me, but you will have fun with it. So I'm going to go ahead and record this, and that way you can see it again, but just practice, practice, practice. Oh, it'll be posted on the group page. I'm still working on it, but something just simple. Probably we'll do some circles to see about that, but everybody's got to get more of a control over it so that you feel that you're accomplishing more when you've got a little bit more. So I'll probably do some different things and post out a thing that you can either print out or you can cut out. So it might even have an SVG so that you can cut it out. Just remember, practice. I have awful handwriting. Practice, practice, practice all the time. So I know you'll have fun doing it. And if you're like me, Sharpies. I love Sharpies. I also love, and I know it sounds crazy, but I really do. These are the coolest markers because they work really great with a brush. The ones that came with your kit, they're like super, super cool. Especially when you're trying to put the color on the marker instead of that. Because once you get the hang of it and you learn how to stick it in there, I just love the way that it floods my project with ink, and I can really control it, and it's got beautiful lines. Then we could do, what I want you to do is I want you to learn how to just do curves, lines, and dots. Let me tell you, it's not easy doing that. It's just, you got to be real still. See how uniform they are? But that's what I want you to get to do. I want you to get that. Practice, practice. Dot, dot, dot. Snap, snap. And you see, you can tell where I wiggle. Snap, snap, snap. Fast as you can. Because you want it to be really uniform. That's the whole idea. Then you can go back and if you want, you can do the start in the center and pull it through. Remember, the closer you are, the finer the thing. You can do dot, dot. That's a good practice. Is to follow the dot. So practice, practice, practice. I practice every day. And this, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is actually the silhouette of a perfect lineup with your marker and your ebrush. Because you'll see, I've got optimum ink flow. There it goes. See the lines? That's what you should be practicing every day. Lines and dots. I love dots. Okay, guys. We'll see you next week. And remember, take it out of the box and have fun with it. And it's just practice. You can do anything if you practice. I know I have been in art classes since I was little bitty, and I would have friends that would say, "Oh, I can't even draw a straight line." Well, as my handwriting did a test, I can't either. But I have been fortunate enough in my lifetime to be chosen to be a published illustrator for a book, which that and about $5 will get me on a bus. But I've had a lot of good fortune with my artwork. It's all about practicing. You've got to teach that hand to follow what that brain wants, and it takes doing stuff like this every day. I would tell you, you should see, I've got rolls and rolls and rolls of me doing weird stuff like blended lines. This is a really good one. We're gonna do this. You start with one line and then you blend. And you'll see I did it with a different color here. But especially for those of you that are doing projects where you want to do roses, I could put my die on this and cut it out and have the lighter shades and then the darker shades for the center. This is called a blended line, and I was working with doing blended lines. We're going to do that. I work with this kind of stuff all the time. So, oh, did you try the Stampin' Up one? Somebody told me the Stampin' Up marker will actually work with your Tombow. The Tombow is the, I probably don't have it with me. I've got the, let's see, do I have one? The Tombow is going to say TB01. Try your Stampin' Up marker in there. Yes, I can see, I don't hear you, but I see you. Tommy, can you hear me? Darn it. Jan. Can you hear me, Jan? Try this with your Tombow. Bye for now.